Well, hello everybody. This is Dave Berkus for the Berkus Report for Eye on Business. Today's subject, time bankruptcy. Time bankruptcy results from the deliberate overcommitment of core resources. You know the symptoms, if not the name. You're fighting to put out fires from customer complaints or incomplete work, or you're suffering from an inability to focus upon the new development or new customers before cleaning up the mess inside your organization. Well, I created the term time bankruptcy almost 30 years ago when a computer software business was young, and I was a software developer building a young company based upon quality first. Asked to speak at industry events, I found my voice and an immediate audience understanding as I described the variants of this problem to my audience. The insights became clearer as I was hired again and again to pick up the pieces of failed programming efforts by other software companies. Here's one example. You take on a new customer, you customize your services or your programs as needed, you make the installation with your customers about 80% complete, and then you move on, whether it's because the customer couldn't absorb all that you had to offer, whether or not you weren't complete in the services you had to give. But either way, the customer pays something, maybe 90% of the bill, and then you move on to the next one. Well, burning through the payment, and you need that to cover your fixed overhead, of course, you do the same thing for the second customer. You give about 80% of the finished component. And then you move to the third, still incomplete for the second and the first. And you can guess that the first begins to call and say, where's the rest of my fill in the blank installation? Where's the rest of my product? Where's the rest of my service? And you say, I'll be right there. So the third customer is put on hold. The second customer calls because you're spending all the time with the first. And you get the idea. By the time you get to the fourth customer, you're kind of out of gas. There's no more core resource. Now that core resource can be you. It can be your developers, your R&D people. It can be your salespeople. It can be virtually any of the core areas of your organization. Either way, you've kind of stopped the business. You can't pay fixed overhead when no money's coming in, and you certainly can't repair a reputation that was never gained. So it's important that you understand that time bankruptcy is just like cash bankruptcy. You know, that same story can be told in virtually any kind of an industry. Sometimes, by the way, I've mentioned that the core resource could be you, and in that case, you're repairable. You ought to know when you've overcommitted yourself. And the way to repair this trap? Well, no one could be blamed, by the way, for allowing core resources to be overcommitted, even if by subordinates, except you. That's because you know the term, and now you understand that such an error in judgment is one that's repairable, and that you can find your way by reducing the size of your initial audience when you release a product or service, by making sure you spend a lot of time in making that service work for that particular customer, and also making sure that you complete the job enough that the customer is satisfied. Lots of things to think about, but now you know the term. It's time bankruptcy. This is Dave Berkus for the Berkus Report for Eye on Business. See you next time.